On today's show, the Phoenix Suns defeat the Dallas Mavericks, getting their fourth straight W, and I'll tell you why these last four wins mean so much for the Phoenix Suns, not just for the playoffs or for the play-in, but for the culture. We'll talk about that and much more on this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show mornings on YouTube, and a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the year. That's why we call it your team every day here at the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world on planet Earth. I don't know what they got going on Mars, but we are the number one sports podcast network on planet Earth. That is not hyperbole. That is just a statistic. However you may be listening, wherever you may be listening, thank you so much for making myself and this show a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. So I teased it in the opening. Why does this win matter so much? Why does this win and ones previous to this over the last couple of games mean so much to the Phoenix Suns? Well, I mentioned this to my guy Hayden Silly on Monday after the Phoenix Suns defeated the New Orleans Pelicans and put belt to ass to the New Orleans Pelicans. It feels like the Suns now are separating from the lower third of the NBA. Now, I could break up the NBA into a bunch of different sections. I could probably break it up into like 5 different tiers. You got your actual title favorites, your contenders, your playoff teams, your bubble teams, your fringe playoff teams, maybe the play in there, lottery teams, and then just tanking teams. Like I made those up off the top of my head, but you can make a bunch of different tiers. But to make it easier for you, let's just round it out. Let's put the NBA in 3 different tiers. You got the great teams, you've got the good teams, you've got the bad teams. Like, let's break it up like a second grader. The Suns are moving out of bad, which if we were putting more nuance in that, we would change it from that. But they are moving out from the bottom 10 teams in the NBA into that second tier. Now, nowhere this year will they be moving in from that second tier to the first tier. They don't have the personnel to make that happen. They don't have the players to make that happen. It's just going to be a little bit longer of a road to get there. But over the past couple of games, the Suns are beating the teams they're supposed to beat. And bad teams don't get those games. And I will still hold the Suns to the standard that no game is an easy walking W. They have the Indiana Pacers. By the time a lot of people are going to be listening to this, they will be tuning their attention to the Indiana Pacers. That tomorrow feels like a gimme game, but the Suns haven't graduated from that. But what they have graduated from over the last week or so is the downright depths of the NBA. In the offseason, you would have people discussing this Suns team and saying, well, who's got a worse future than Phoenix? And of course, people like myself on this show always mention there will be teams worse than Phoenix until the history of mankind is over. Like, this is why the Bradley Beal deal doesn't really matter in terms of the assets they gave up. It matters in terms of all the money they gave him. But the Washington Wizards will never be worse than the Phoenix Suns. They will never be swapping picks unless some really bad luck happens. But the Suns, for a little bit here, in the early parts of the season and late in the offseason, because that's the way people projected them to look like, they were lumped in with the Pelicans and the Hornets and the Wizards and the Brooklyn Nets and, even a team like tonight, maybe the Dallas Mavericks, the Memphis Grizzlies. They were lumped in with the worst of the worst in the NBA. the Suns, after tonight's win, have graduated out of the bottom third tier of the NBA. You have the greats, you have the goods, you have the bad. The Suns are just officially a good team. How good? I don't know. You check their defensive rating and their offensive rating, they're like teetering in top 10 in both. Defensive, I'm pretty sure they're in the top 10. Games like tonight are what separate you from good and bad. The Mavericks are a bad team. The Pacers right now are a bad team. The Hornets, the Wizards, the Pelicans, those are bad teams. The Suns aren't a bad team. Newsflash, Ben, they're not bad. Did you think that was the case coming into the season? I had them as a play-in team. Did you have them as a playoff team? I didn't. When you discuss the Phoenix Suns now, you don't say, well, they could make the play-in. You say, well, they might be a firm playoff team. And if that happens, they are so ahead of schedule. And right now, they are so ahead of schedule because they are beating the lights out of teams. And what was so impressive tonight is for the not sixth straight game, but in 6 of the last 7 games, the Suns have been up at least 18 points in each of those games. They're not doing it with just defense. They're also shooting the ball really well. Grayson Allen didn't wake up till late in this game, but if it's not Grayson Allen, it's Jordan Goodwin hitting an open 3. It's not it's not the fact that they're winning, it's the way that they're winning. They're not winning every night because Devin Booker is putting up a 50-point, 50-piece triple-double. That's not the case. In fact, nights like tonight, I'm like, I kind of want to get a little bit more out of Booker. They're winning games because their role players are stepping up. And credit to Devin Booker as well, who I'll get into in a little bit later, that I didn't love some of the stuff super late in this game. And he didn't shoot super effectively from the field. But he's become, and maybe he already was before, a very dynamic passer. Whether it's finding Mark Williams over the top for a, wham, bam, slam-a-jamma, as Al McCoy used to say it, or finding guys open for 3, they are rewarding him for being a absolute playmaker for this team. Early in the season, when they started off 1-4, and, the sky was falling, and I mentioned to everyone that that's not the case. I literally had a show that said why everything is just fine for the Phoenix Suns, why they are exactly where you expected them to be. He is getting rewarded from the role players, Grayson Allen, Dylan Brooks, Ryan Dunn at times, Jordan Goodwin. Guys are hitting shots because teams are doubling him, and he's finding them open. At the beginning of the season, Devin Booker was seeing the most double teams, the most bodies thrown at him in a game. I would be curious to see if that is still the case right now. I'll have to look at that after the show. Because if that's the case still, and I still know it's the most double teams he's seen in his entire career, that's going to have to start to take a step back a little bit. Teams are going to have to start running over to Grayson Allen. And you know what that's going to do for Devin Booker's game? Open it up even more. Yeah, does he turn over the ball a little bit more, for a little bit too much for my liking? Sure. But you know who I'd rather have the ball in their hands? Devin Booker. He turns it over, I'd rather him have it than Colin Gillespie or, Dylan Brooks, who brings it up at times, or Ryan Dunn, who brings it up at times, or Grayson Allen. Devin Booker is the most dangerous player on the floor. And he's a part of this separation. Tonight, and just so we're clear, the Suns could go back into this tier. They could go back into the bottom 10 team tier. This is not a lifetime guarantee stamp of approval. What matters, though, is right now. And they are firmly head and shoulders above some of the worst teams in the NBA, and I'm not so sure everyone thought that was going to be the case. They're better than the Mavs. They're better than the Hornets, the Wizards, the Nets, the Pelicans. Those teams aren't in the same stratosphere as the Suns. And now when you're talking about, well, who's got a worse future? Who else would you rather be? The Suns aren't in that conversation. It's why I told you, Suns fan, that was really frustrated with this team in the offseason. Well, I'd rather be the Hornets. Would you be? I'd rather be the Wizards. Would you be? The Wizards have always been picking high, but they can't get out of their own way. Who's the last great player they drafted? I'll give you some time. Like the Suns were always ahead of those teams. And it's been very mature the way they've gotten to this team. And the way they won tonight, going up big once again, almost surrendering the lead. It got down to 3 points in the fourth quarter. They tightened up the hatches defensively. The Mavericks gave them some breaks because of just really poor defensive and offensive execution, stepping out of bounds on the baseline or, a goaltending late in this game. But what do good teams do? When bad teams, struggle to win games and they're falling all over their face and they say, here, Suns, I know we came close. Here, come take the win. What do good teams do? Take it from their hands and say, thank you very much. And again, some of that goes for Devin Booker, who had that late steal in this game. And it was just a really cool thing seeing him and the young fan kind of embrace there for half a second. If that doesn't perfectly encapsulate the vibes of the Phoenix Suns right now, I don't know what will. We'll do a little bit of box score watching. We're going to talk about Grayson Allen, who continues to be awesome. And let's do it all next. First, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you must, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. Built is changing the game by turning your rent payment into real rewards that you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you earn flexible points that can be redeemed toward hundreds of hotels, airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and more. But Built isn't just about rent. It's about rewarding you around your around your entire neighborhood. I love that Built, your rent finally works for you. You're earning points every month on something you already had to pay. So turn your rent into rewards and start earning points around your neighborhood by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Make sure to use that link so they know that we sent you. So Grayson Allen continues to just be a revolution for this Phoenix Suns. He has become not just a player who in the offseason was moderately overpaid, and he was moderately overpaid for what the Suns gave him. He was coming off that illustrious year a couple of years ago, and he was awesome. He had a career high in three-point percentage. I believe it was 46.1%. He was a good 3-and-D defender. And they gave him that massive deal. I think it was 4 years, $70 million, 4 years, $80 million, something like that. The details don't matter. But last season, he didn't necessarily fall off a cliff, but this was one thing I kind of warned Suns fans about. And I don't think I was the only one. So I'm not this grand master when it comes to predicting these things. But when Grayson Allen got bigger, I thought to myself, not in terms of like overweight, but he got bulkier, he got stockier. I said to myself, how is that going to affect him shooting the ball? Like if he's stronger, does he know the type of weight and push he wants to do every time he's shooting the ball? And his numbers came down a little, not insane. It really didn't affect it that much. But also defensively, if you're a little bit heavier, whether it's actual like overweightness or you're a big, stocky, bulky player, it's just going to be harder for you to move laterally. You got to move more weight, shiftier, quicker at the same time that you were doing with less weight, with less muscle. And I didn't love that. I love that Grayson kind of found a happy medium this year. He's not this big, stocky, built Grayson Allen. He is more of a slender, but still harder to move Grayson. I thought that is a tough needle to thread. And I think he's done it masterfully. And not only that, he's shooting more shots than he's ever shot before in his career. Grayson Allen tonight, I don't think was awesome from the field shooting the basketball. Tonight, he was 8 for 17. That's 47% from the field. That's not terrible at all. In fact, it's more than adequate. But he was 4 for 9 from 3. But it's not those numbers that I'm curious, that I'm really just pulling out. Again, 17 shot attempts tonight. His shot attempts from last year, like forget last year actually. Let's go to his career year with the Phoenix Suns just 2 years ago, where he played 75 games, where he shot 50% from the field, 46% from 3, and 87% from the free throw. His numbers are way up from then. This year, from 13.5 points a game in that 2023 year, he is now up to 18 points a game. He's also shooting 5 more shots, or he's also shooting roughly 5 more shots than he was from that career year. His field goal percentages went down just a tick, but it's not inefficient. He's shooting 13 shots a game, making 45% of them. He is shooting 3 more three-pointers a game this year, and he's shooting it at a 44% clip. I cannot tell you how elite that is. Whether it's getting to the basket, whether it's, hitting the open three, he has become a more efficient player than he already was. He already wasn't an inefficient player. The words inefficient and Grayson Allen never came out of my mouth unless I was saying Grayson Allen is not inefficient. He's a very efficient player. So I don't know what happened over the offseason. It's tough for me to believe that in the age 29 season to now age 30, he's just like a fringe all-star player. Something happened in Jordan Knott's system where he's getting him open. He's telling him to take more shots. He's showing him in the film room, look, that's a three-pointer you can make. And it is quickly changing a contract that was then looked to be moderately overpriced in the offseason to now is, oh my goodness, is Grayson Allen a bit of a bargain? It's why I mentioned to people, like, again, I don't want to bring up the trade thing, but I got in a lot of hot water for saying, the Phoenix Suns might be able to get out of no man's land in terms of draft assets by moving off Grayson and Royce O'Neal. This is best case scenario. Either the Phoenix Suns keep Grayson Allen and he's the number 3, number 4 best player on this team alongside Jalen Green or whatever it looks like, or they deal Grayson Allen, get a boatload for him, and restock on draft capital, draft and develop, or go get Devin Booker's next great running mate. Like, what if you use picks to go get Larry Markkinen, later on, and Royce O'Neal as well? But forget any of that. The point is of what I'm saying is Grayson Allen's trade stock is up because Grayson Allen is now really good. If he's playing this version of basketball, his contract is becoming a bargain. Even in that last year where he's making $19 million a year. It has completely changed everything about this team. And now here's my other thing. I joked about this yesterday with John Voida. How I was telling him, like, hey, listen, I was the one that said maybe Grayson Allen should just start for this team over Jalen Green because I thought Grayson Allen fit better with Devin Booker. And I'm not advocating for that. Like, when Jalen Green comes back, you got to play Jalen Green. But are you sending Grayson Allen to the bench? Are you? Or are you going to start Booker, Green, Allen, Brooks, Mark Williams? Because I don't think you can send Grayson to the bench with how well he is performing. And at the end of the day, don't be the Indiana Pacers who don't reward Miles Turner with a big contract after they make the NBA Finals. And in the same breath, don't not reward Grayson Allen for playing awesome. He should be in the starting lineup. Now, does that mean Ryan Dunn gets kicked to the curb? Sorry, as the president of the Ryan Dunn fan club, we will happily oblige here. Like Dylan Brooks, maybe he continues to start, and he probably should, and he probably will. But Grayson fits better with Devin Booker than not just Jalen Green. I think legitimately anyone on this team, because as Devin Booker is going to get double and triple teamed on a night in, night out basis, who's going to be right there to bail him out? And right now, the guy is just playing some superb basketball that not a lot of people are playing right now in the NBA. Like right now, Grayson Allen is trending towards being like a near all-star. You don't rip that guy out of the starting lineup. You don't pull him out of his groove. If he ever cools down, I think he will a touch. Sure, we'll talk about it then. But right now, I'm not there. Ride the hot hand. And Grayson Allen has been a revolution. And has gone from, man, that contract is rough, to, wait a second. Is he one of the best bargains in the NBA? Grayson Allen was great tonight. Let's talk about Devin Booker, who I thought was mostly really good tonight. And again, not going to be a going after Devin Booker take. However, I didn't love how he performed late in this game. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about it next. Today's episode is brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making this switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. I love that you're getting the same quality service you've had before, but for a fraction of the price, right? Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 required, limited time, new customer offer for the first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan, taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, let's close out the show. I thought Devin, so again, let's bring up the statistics too, just so I'm being fair to Devin Booker, who has been largely awesome over the last 7 games, which is basically the entire year at this point. This is not a Devin Booker has to be better take. I don't think he was great tonight. 38% from the field. That's not good enough for a Supermax player. But remember when I told you guys after the Utah game, like, if Devin Booker has a stretch of really good games and he has one bad game, like, I'm not going to kill him. Victor Wembanyama was held to like 2 points against the Suns. You're not going to kill Big Vic because that's what happens. Devin Booker sometimes is going to have an off night. Tonight was a little bit of an off night from the field. Here's what I'll say, though. Devin Booker, who's nearly shooting 50, 40, 90 on the season. Damn, that's really good efficiency. 50% from the field, 40% from three, 87% from free throw. He might flirt with 50, 40, 90, which is just a very exclusive club. But Devin Booker tonight, could he have been more efficient from the field? Sure. Could he have done a couple of things better, maybe defensively a little bit? Sure. But he had 9 assists tonight. That's the good from Booker. That's the point Booker, if you will, in this game. One of the things he's got to cut down on is the turnovers. He had 5 of them tonight. He cannot be, over the last 5 games, have 10, 13, 16, 21 turnovers in his last 5 games. That's not good enough. That's not good enough ball. He understands those numbers need to tick down. However, when he plays too timid, when he's trying to play conservatively and do everything to not lose the basketball, sometimes that takes away from some of his magic. So take that with what you will. Here's the one thing I'll say with Devin Booker. Late in this game, when it got really close, he had a play or two that I enjoyed. He found Mark Williams on an alley-oop late in this game. He also had a bucket with like 5 minutes to go that I remember. I appreciate the unselfish basketball Devin Booker is playing. This is why this is not like a shake my fist at Booker. He's been largely awesome. However, late in this game, I did not think he was great. Like late in this game. Like final 3 minutes. How many times did we come up the floor and the Suns were up 3, up 5, and Devin Booker either took a really poor shot attempt, didn't like their creation at all, or Devin Booker, flat out passed the ball, was too timid with the ball. I appreciate him trying to find Grayson Allen in the corner open, or trying to find Dylan Brinks on the left wing open, or throw another lob to Mark Williams. I appreciate all of that. But with that being said, you are the Supermax player. You're an elite player. This isn't like a Supermax deal that I don't think was warranted. You're shooting 50, 40, 87 splits this year. I just wish he would take the initiative a little bit more late in this fourth quarter and say, no. The Dallas Mavericks are making a run. They are trying to find a way to win this game. Let me get to my spot. And that's on Jordan Knott a little bit too. Like, again, this is not like get on Jordan Knott, Devin Booker. Jordan Knott was like 95% awesome in this game. But when the games are getting close and you need a bucket and there's 2 minutes, 3 minutes left on the clock, there is only one person I trust. Like, I don't not trust Grayson Allen, but I wouldn't say I trust him late in games. Like, that's why you pay Devin Booker the big bucks. And so I just wish I saw a little bit more of that today. And that was it, though. That was the one thing today where I was like, come on, Book, find a better spot. You know, you don't have to worry about kicking it out every play. Sometimes you just got to go to work. And that was it. That was the only thing. And so just need Book to not be so timid in those situations, even when he knows his shot isn't falling, because he's a top 15 player in the NBA. Like, I just expect that sort of bandwidth from him. So yeah. Here's the other thing. I was never concerned that the Suns were going to lose that game. I was never concerned. Maybe you were, and that's okay. Like, PTSD from last year and, you know, the fourth quarter as a whole last year, I was never concerned. I never once tensed up. I never once looked at the clock begging for it to hit triple zeros. I knew they'd figure it out. Because that's what teams with an identity of the defensive side of the ball, that when the shots aren't falling, they can lean back on. And they forced the Dallas Mavericks into a bunch of stupid turnovers. Whether it was stepping on the baseline out of bounds, or, you know, the Dallas Mavericks had a bad goaltending, or, Book, forcing an offensive foul against the Dallas Mavericks in this game, late in this game, where I believe the guy I forgot his name, number 30, got in trouble for two kind of hooks under the rim, boxing out Booker, like selling those offensive fouls on the Dallas Mavericks. I was never concerned. And like, just so we're clear, the Suns are going to lose like at minimum 20 more games this year. What are they at right now? They're got 6 losses. They could lose 23 more games this year, 25 more games this year. They're going to lose. But in this stretch where they're getting big leads and they're not surrendering them, the fact that they're beating teams that good teams are supposed to beat, it's hard not to get excited. It's hard not to change your expectations a bit. So I'm not changing them yet. But if the Suns keep getting these W's, and these are the W's they need to get, like, these are important. The fact that the Suns lost a game, to the Grizzlies and to the, the Jazz earlier in the year, and they kind of got one back against the Spurs, and they're winning the rest of the games that they have to win. Like, those are signs of a mature, good basketball team. And so I'm not changing expectations yet. I'm not going to do it. My expectation is still to play in. But golly, does this team make it tough to not get excited about the future? Because you have to know the future is still a ways away. But the core pieces and foundation are making its way. And so really, really, really nice win for the Suns, who haven't had to do it in nail-biting fashion too much. But good teams find a way to win ugly. And tonight got a little ugly. But they found a way to win anyways. All right, guys, that's all you have for me. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Do me a favor, hit like, share, subscribe to this channel, or give it a 5-star review if you're listening on any podcast platform Thank you so much for continuously making myself and this show a part of your day. For everyone tuning into Locked On Phoenix Suns, everyone in the comment section, however you may be listening, wherever you may be listening, thank you. I'm Benjamin Garcia, and it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns.